Hey friends, so I recently made a video about fasting called Why Fast, and a lot of you asking a lot of questions, which is really great. So I thought I'd make today's video just to answer some of them questions. Okay, so Rebecca Roberts left a comment which might be my favourite comment on a YouTube video of all time because it was so informative and really articulate, so I really liked it. It said, great video, but worth mentioning that men's bodies and women's bodies react differently to fasting. Women are more sensitive to starvation hormones or the feeling of hunger. So it's harder to fast, and this can lead to binge eating and the cravings can become overwhelming. Also, women shouldn't fast for longer than 4 days at a time because it can cause an effect on infertility. She even linked in where she got information from, which I found really interesting. Thank you very much for your comment, Rebecca. Yeah, it's really important to kind of note that women's bodies and men's bodies can react differently to certain things. There are obviously biological differences in terms of the ability to carry a child and things like that, so the body will protect itself in certain circumstances. I don't personally recommend fasting for that length of time anyway. I personally believe that you can fast kind of each day and do it for a certain amount of time to let your body heal in that day. The longest I've personally fasted is for 3 days, and I feel like this is a really good length of time to allow your body to heal, repair itself, kind of reset. So yeah, but really well noted. I really appreciate that comment. Thanks, Rebecca. Okay, so I got a comment off someone called BTS Love, and it said, I'm still in school and is fasting a good idea for people in a young age? So first of all, I never ever want to tell anyone what to do. I'm not a doctor. B, I'm not a scientist. I only ever do experiments myself, do things through trial and error and work out what I find best for me, as well as research from kind of places that I trust and people that I know and trust. So I will never ever tell you this is exactly what you should do. I will always encourage people to try things and experiment themselves and find out what kind of works best for them. So please don't feel like any of these videos are me saying do exactly as I do or do exactly as I say. I would also say, if you're of a young age, please consult your parents or potentially a medical physician to actually talk about possible effects and the way in which you could do something. Maybe your parents will look positively upon fasting. People of certain religions do fasting throughout the whole life. So a lot of parents will already be aware of fasting and kind of educated on it and will look at the effects and how to do it. But I never feel comfortable encouraging school children to fast, as you can probably understand. So always consult the adults in your life that you trust most and find your route that way. And then if you're still interested in fasting as you get to a certain age, then maybe experiment or give it a go. But as I say, I would never encourage you to do something like that while you're at school, because I don't know if you can fully control your schedule at that age, and I feel it'd be irresponsible for me to suggest that. But thank you very much for your question. Okay, so Ada asked a question which I found really interesting, great question. It said, really nice video, maybe you should recommend some meals and ideas for people to get all the vital nutrients when they finish their fast, which is really great question. So all I would ever suggest in terms of people's meals and in terms of the kind of scheduling meals and recipes that they're going to eat is just whole food, plant-based meals. So looking at grains like quinoa, things like sweet potato, spinach, getting your leafy greens in. Dr. Greger is a fantastic port of call to look at his daily dozen. Trying to get all of those in when you break your fast is a very good idea. Looking at ways you can use things like turmeric in your meal to reduce inflammation. Pairing that with black pepper increases its effects, which is a great way to use it. But yeah, leafy greens, plenty of fluids, and getting that whole food plant-based in there. I'll be releasing more and more recipes. A lot of my recipes currently are based towards people doing a transition from like a generic kind of meat and dairy diet, which, you know, the large percentage of the world is on, and how they can transition to a plant-based diet. So a lot of my videos at the moment and recipes are based around pastas, really simple dishes, which may not always be the healthiest for you, and I fully understand and respect people's point of view on that. I completely agree that not all of my meals are the healthiest meals, but I think it's a really, really important way to help people transition to a plant-based diet. A lot of my meals will definitely be changing over the next year and go into more healthy, whole foods route, because if not selfishly for my own health, to make sure that I'm at my optimum health, but really for everyone else, so that the people who've kind of come on the journey with me so far and transitioned to a vegan diet, so that they can start to feel the real benefits of a vegan diet, which is eating those whole foods. And there's going to be a lot more raw recipes in there as well, which I'm really, really excited about bringing to you guys. Okay, so a lot of the questions that I got asked were about working out and about, is it okay to fast and do lots of physical exercise at the same time? So I find that really, really interesting question. Now, all I can really answer from is personal experience. So when I first started experimenting with fasting, it was when I was doing a lot of fight sports. So I was doing some MMA and some kickboxing, things like that. And I always found it was actually more beneficial to me to exercise while I was fasted. Now I know some people get varying results with this, so especially when people are transitioning to fasting and they're starting to fast and starting to experiment, their body's still adapting to it, people can feel a little bit dizzy or lightheaded. I'd always encourage people to stay hydrated if they're going to work out, and not do a dry fast if they're going to be doing any kind of high intensity working out or cardio. And a lot of people do a lot of working out, so people do some quite extreme sports through the week, and some people who asked me were saying, I work out kind of 5 days a week or 6 days a week, 7 days a week, or some people do like 2 a days, and is it okay to fast and do this level of workout? What I personally, it depends who you are and what you're trying to achieve, so what your goals are. So if someone's like an extreme athlete, then it's very, very important that you experiment with things and do it in the right way, and make sure that you're taking on enough nutrients when you do eat to be able to keep up any high intensity workouts. And maybe fasting won't be for you. Fasting isn't for everyone, depending on their lifestyle. But the other thing is, people are so willing to go and absolutely bust their gut in a gym, and never really get the body that they want, or that they kind of feel like they deserve, or the body that they should have from the effort that they're putting in the gym. And one of the biggest ways of this is nutrition. So many people are so willing to go and bust a gut, but when you start talking to people about nutrition, talk to people about what they put in their body, people just shut off and kind of give you a blank fluoride stare, which is really, really interesting, because you can put a lot less effort in and get a lot more results if you really control your nutrition. It's such a cliche thing that, you know, the body of your dreams is built in the kitchen. And I'm not walking around saying I've got a dream body that kind of everyone aspires to. But what I know I am is very healthy, and I definitely get in all of the nutrition that I need. So it's really, really important to just look at that and think long and hard about what your goals are, what you're trying to achieve. Because yeah, fasting might not be for you, but at the same time, are you being as efficient as possible in trying to reach your goals? And if your goals are to maybe lose some weight or increase your cardio, it could be the critical part that you're missing, which could be the foundation in your nutrition, and you're putting a lot of work in the gym, but you're putting a lot more effort in than needs to be. Maybe the planning side of it, which is the nutrition, actually planning your meals, could have a lot more effect on your end goals. So that's worth considering, definitely. This one isn't such a question, but more of a statement, but I really like its intention, so I thought I'd read it. It's from the Geezer family, and it says, "Thanks for sharing, mate. Kate has just finished a 3-day fast and feels much better for it. Big love, brother." So there's 2 different ways to get into fasting, which is why I wanted to speak about this. Some people prefer to start off by finishing their meal at night, maybe like 7 p.m. When they have their last bite to eat, and then breaking the fast at like 12, which is a really decent amount of time to get into a fast. So you've got kind of like, you know, your 5 hours till midnight, then you've got the 12 hours till midday, you've got 17 hours in. That's a really, really great amount of time to start fasting, and then you can gradually start building it up from there. Traditional warrior diet is 23 hours. So, you know, you've got 6 hours to build and maybe you build 1 hour a week or something like that. Or I often do it more loosely and I say I will just do more than 20 hours per day. So you can just, you know, you can build up to the 20-hour mark. But I found a really, really beneficial thing for me was when I was first starting to fast was to actually do a couple of those longer fasts, that kind of 3-day fast. And 3 days is the longest I've fasted so far. And I do think you do get a lot of benefit from that in terms of doing it, not all of the time, but as a marker to reset and kind of feel like you're repairing your body, taking on plenty of fluids while you do it. But I do feel a lot of benefit from doing that, and there's also a lot of mental strength and clarity that you gain from it. So as always, maybe not for everyone, and think about your own situation. How diminished is your body at the time that you're doing it? But as a way to repair and reset, I think it's a really, really interesting way to do it, and it can be incredibly beneficial in my personal experience. Okay, so this was a really interesting one. So I mentioned in my last video about drinking distilled water. Now, I don't know how many of you guys follow me on Instagram, but you've seen a couple of my posts about distilled water. You'll have seen a couple of my posts of water that I've taken out of the distiller, the kind of water elements that are left when I've distilled a full batch of water. And it looks like pond water, to be quite frank. But someone's commented here on that basis saying distilled water holds no energy / information, provides no nutrients or minerals, and acts as a leech, drawing out vital minerals from your body over time, as well as corroding your teeth. There's a lot of bad bottled water out there, but there are some good ones that have good minerals and no bad metals such as aluminium. Okay, so there's a few things I'd like to kind of talk about in this subject. So I mean, my response personally was, so first of all, the claim that distilled water rots your teeth has no logic to it whatsoever. I understand how someone can get to that conclusion because water out of the tap has fluoride in it that's put in there, and the reason that's stated for putting fluoride in water is to actually protect your teeth from corrosion. But not having fluoride isn't what's actively rotting your teeth. So if you're eating a diet that's low in sugar, processed sugars, and you also clean your teeth regularly, there should be no reason for your teeth to rot purely from having distilled water. So correlation doesn't equal causation is kind of what I'd say to that. The other thing is they've talked about leaching, the leaching effect. So in terms of that, distilled water does pass through your body quicker. People who are cutting weight in athletic events, for instance, will drink distilled water, and it's because it will pass through your body quicker. But that's because it takes less time to process, which means that your body is not working as hard to process it either. So personally, that's exactly the same effect as not taking as many toxins into your body, which people talk about in processed food. So when you eat a more whole food plant-based diet with less processed ingredients, then it passes through your body quicker. And it's exactly the same with distilled water. So that leaching effect is actually just the fact that it passes through your body quicker. So I understand how you've reached some of those conclusions, but I personally don't believe that you're correct. And if you have any other evidence or information that you'd like to send over my way, I'd be more than happy to read it. But looking at research and information, that I haven't drawn the same conclusion. Also, saying that there's some good bottled water out there, any bottled water that's in a plastic bottle, I could never consider as good bottled water. Plastic is a carcinogen, and if it's ever left in the sun, you will notice on any plastic bottles, I mean, sorry if I'm kind of telling you something you already know, but you'll notice on a plastic bottle that it has a use by date. And when you think that the water's not going to go off itself, it's the plastic bottle that's going to start to degrade and leach carcinogenic toxins into the water, which when drank could cause cancer. So personally, I just drink out of glass and I drink distilled water. Now, even if I wasn't drinking distilled water, I still wouldn't drink out of plastic purely because of the carcinogenic effect of plastic. I think plastic's one of the single biggest evils in the world today. So I will be steering clear of that. But again, I understand how you've reached your conclusion. I just think it may be a little misguided and maybe not taking all of the information into account. One more thing about distilled water, if you want to look into it further, my extremely good friend Tim Sheaf has a video on it, and he talks about why he drinks distilled water and how he got into it, how he researched it, etc. So I will drop a link in to Tim's video. It'd be a really, really good idea for you to go over and watch that, because he is the person who got me into distilled water, and I find it fascinating for him to talk about it because it's something he's very passionate about. Okay, so really interesting question here, and I know that some of the questions I'm reading, they're not all the most positive questions. I like to read all of the questions though, and not just stick to the positive ones, because I find some of the questions that have certain negative connotations can actually be the ones that become the most interesting when you start to talk through them and explain them. I'm definitely not someone who's looking for everyone to agree with me. So if you have conflicting views, feel free to drop a comment. And I love having an open discussion about things. If you have any research that backs up your theory, I'd love to go and read it, because ultimately, unless we admit that we don't know everything, we'll never learn anything. We all have a little bit of information that we can share. So that's, you know, it's a really good kind of way to go about things, I think. So Earth Girl said, why would you want to feel hungry? I fast all the time, but I do it when my body tells me. Some days I eat a whole kilogram of fruit and veg, and other days I eat one smoothie. The body knows. Breaking routine is good too. Now, the only reason I say that there's some negative connotations in here is the same person also left another quite negative comment on the video, saying that I was telling people what to do. As I discussed earlier, like, I never tell people what to do in my videos, I only tell them my personal experience. So how I would respond to this is I would say that it's a very, very good thing to listen to your body. So if that's something that you feel you can do, if you can listen to your body and some days fast, other times eat a whole kilogram of fruit and listen to your body, that's a really, really great way to do it. And as far as I can tell from Earth Girl and a comment, she's on a very, very healthy diet as it is, a very, very plant-based diet. So that's fantastic. She's probably very in sync with the body. What I would say for a lot of people that are eating processed food that may not be quite as in sync with their body is that fasting's a very, very good way to separate hunger, genuine hunger, and we do need food to survive. You know, that's you know, a biological and chemical reaction, that we do need food as a fuel to burn and to survive, and separating that from gluttony and routine. So there is no science that says we need 3 meals a day. There's no science that says we need to get up in the morning and eat breakfast and then lunch and then dinner. You know, breakfast, lunch and dinner are just a man-made creation, like a lot of other kind of man-made creations around us, in terms of the routine that we've kind of built for ourselves as like a generic routine. So breaking away from that and actually realizing and recognizing when your body says, hey, I'm hungry, is really, really important, because a lot of the time your body will be saying, hey, I'm bored, and what you're doing right now isn't entertaining me, I'm not engaged, and I'd like to procrastinate and go and eat some food. And that's something that is very personal to me. I find, and especially being a cook myself, I will find that if I'm doing something that I'm not truly engaged in, I'm not truly motivated for, the easiest thing for me to possibly do is to get in the kitchen and do the thing I'm passionate about. But then you can end up overeating because you're doing it out of boredom rather than out of the fact that you need to fuel your body. Ultimately, at its base, food is fuel, and food can be tasty, it can be fantastic, but it is fuel. So if you can listen to your body, if you can audit your life and your own habits and react to them accordingly, then fantastic. You're on the right track, and I completely appreciate it and respect it. But if you're not there and you find that you binge eat or you eat because you're bored, fasting can be a really, really good way to break that negative path that you're on and start heading down one that's more aware and more conscious. If anything, from the whole experience, being more conscious of your actions in life is one of the most powerful things you can possibly do. Not to go over old ground too much, but whether being conscious of the effect on animals and the environment, and whether that leads you to go vegan, or whether you're realizing that you're having a negative effect on your body by binge eating or grazing, it can all be very, very destructive personally and for the environment. So being aware, being conscious is really, really good. And Earth Girl sounds like she's got her method to do that, which is fantastic. Fasting's my method to do that, and you can find your method. I hope you found this video interesting. As always, I will never tell you what to do. I'll only talk about my own personal experience and share it with you. And I'd also love to hear more about your personal experience with fasting and nutrition. If you've got any questions or comments, fire them over to me. Be sure to like and subscribe and give me some feedback. Be nice to each other. Goodbye.